G'day everybody, Wong here. Today's video is going to be a guide on armors, backpacks and just sort of loadouts in general. I'm going to be definitely specifically looking at the character selection menu and not guns themselves, but I will be mentioning guns here and there that fit armors. So the video structure is going to look like this. First, I'm going to explain how the durability stat actually works on armor. Then I'm going to go over a quick little section about helmets because there are not many helmets in the game, and they'll be really easy to explain. And then I'm going to go over the vests, and at any point if I need to, I'll mention the backpacks. I hope you guys enjoy. Alrighty, so first of all, armors all have a stat called durability. You can think of this as extra health. So your character without armor has 100 health, but with this normal vest, if I get shot in this vest, that will have 25 extra health. So let's say I was standing here and someone had a pistol with 15 damage and they shot my armor would then go down to 10 health. Now, once my armor's been shot, there is no way to bring its health back up. So once it goes down to 10 health, or any health, I cannot replenish the armor in any way. So he shoots me once, and it goes down to 10 health, and he shoots me again, and then the armor will break, and I will take 5 damage, because 15 plus 15 is 30, and it's only got 25. So that's how the armor works. Now, because you cannot replenish it, the bonus of extra health in this is actually pretty negligible. Yeah, so think about it, every time you see plus health, always imagine, take that with a grain of salt. Plus health is not very good, because it will just run out in the first few gunfights. Anyways, that's enough about that. That's how the armor works. Now, I'm going to go over the helmets. So, there's only a few types in the game. There's normal, there's empty, and then we also have heavy and exo. Spoiler alert, I'm just going to quickly say this, heavy is not very good. Heavy gives you 25 extra health to the head, and then your running speed and aiming speed get lowered. Normal gives you an extra health of 12 with no other downsides, which is pretty good. That's actually alright. Exo, on the other hand, is pretty fantastic. If you're having trouble with running speed, switch to normal on support, but if you're not, run exo. Exo is fantastic. Empty pretty much just means you have 0 extra health on the head, but 10% extra aiming speed. Now, I believe this to be a really good default option. If you're playing support, your default option should be exo. If you're playing all the other classes, your default option should be empty. Unless you're versing DMRs, of course. The extra aiming speed is really, really handy, and every single gunfight you get into where you aim, this will help. Normal's usefulness is very rare, whereas empty's usefulness is very common. So I would be running empty pretty much all the time. If you want to run the other ones, go for it, but I think you should at least give empty a go and check out how good the aiming speed is, because it's pretty fantastic over 12 head health. Alrighty, so that's the helmets done. Time to move on to the armors. Alrighty, so we're going to first talk about the one that probably the highest kills per minute players, KPM players, will use, which is light. The reason a lot of them use it is because movement speed allows you to do so many things. In close quarters combat fights, it helps you throw off people's muscle memory because you'll be moving a lot faster than everybody else. You'll be moving really, really quickly. You'll be able to throw off people's ideas of where you are, so you might be running from cover to cover really, really quickly, and now the enemy doesn't know where to pre-aim. Another example of it being good is whenever you peek a corner, because you're moving faster, your peek's advantage will be higher. It's also harder to hit a target that's moving quickly. Anytime you do the jumping around stuff, and any movement techniques, all of them are now made better by having light armor because you move faster. So movement speed is a huge, huge buff, and I definitely think that the light armor is one of the best, if not the best armor. It probably is actually the best armor. So yeah, light armor is really, really good, but it does have a downside. And that downside being, you only get 4 spare mags. Right here I know it says 2, but I don't actually know why it says 2, but you actually get 4 spare mags. If you are running a certain guns like the AUG or the SG550, you can get more mags. They already come with 2 extra mags, so you'll be given 6 instead of 4. But just consider the light vest a 4 mags, but really, really fast movement, and you get 12 durability. Now, this is technically a downside because you get less health than the normal armor, but honestly, the health is pretty negligible. I wouldn't really consider it. I would actually consider 12 health the normal. So, good movement speed, really bad magazine count. if you live for a really long time and you're looking to get a high kill per death ratio, you don't want to run the light vest, because a high kills per death is tough to get when you can only kill a small amount of people per life due to not having much ammo. Now, if you're running Assault, for example, it doesn't really matter. You can get a high KDA and KPM because you will not be running out of mags because you can bring ammo kits. Secondly, as well, guns that kill really quickly and have good movement speed are really good, because if you have already good movement speed on an SMG, like a bonus, and then you have the bonus from the light vest, you're going to be moving so quickly, and all of these bonuses I talked about are just going to be increased even more. But you have to be prepared that when you run out of ammo, you're going to have to go searching for ammo or die. A lot of the players who get really high kill games, i.e. have a high KPM, use a light vest, because the downside of having no mags isn't that bad, because they're not going to search for ammo anyways, and they're okay with dying. If you don't want to die a bunch and you want to get long streaks, do not run the light vest. The light vest is not for streaks, it's for high KPM. Now we have the normal rig. This rig has an upside of extra health, it has an alright amount of magazines, and no movement speed buffs. So I would just honestly consider this good health. Now the reason you pick the normal rig is really hard to find, because this rig doesn't really give you many benefits. Its benefit is health, and that's it. Now, I don't think that this has a very common use case. I can't think of anything great, but there's only one situation that I can think of where it's really good. Maybe you're running a gun that has no movement speed benefits, but also runs out of ammo quickly. Think the Evo Scorpion, for example. That gun kills really fast, doesn't have any movement speed buffs, and because its RPM is really high, it runs out of ammo really quickly, meaning that I die quickly enough that the Ranger is bad, but I die slow enough that the light is bad. So for the Evo Scorpion, I would actually run the normal vest. I might even do it on the Chris Vector as well, if I'm playing Medic. If I'm playing Engineer, I do something a little different, but I'll show that off later. So the normal, honestly, is really bad, and I would not recommend running it unless you're running the Evo Scorpion. That is the only sort of use case I could find for the normal. My apologies that I couldn't find anything else good. It's just the extra health afforded is not that good a benefit. It only helps with the first gunfight. Now, if you're going to run the Ranger vest, there's tons of reasons to run it. This vest has an extra magazines, and that's its benefit. That means that if you want to live a long time and get a high KD, I'd use the Ranger vest. It's really good when running guns like assault rifles, because assault rifles generally aren't the greatest at KPM, but they're pretty good at KD because you can take fights at any range. So I would use the Ranger vest if you're using an assault rifle. I would, if you right now don't know what to run and you've been running normal and you use assault rifles, switch to the Ranger vest. The Ranger vest is really good for assault rifles. If you're using the Org 3 or the SG550, these have extra magazines. I would switch back to the normal, or alternatively, maybe you would still use them anyway. It's just because you can get 10 extra mags if you really like never ever having to get ammo. So I would run the Ranger vest just by default. I would switch your default to the Ranger vest. The extra health on normal will not help you that much. And yeah, I would just consider the Ranger vest the default kind of rig just for normal playstyle. Now, the heavy vest. I personally would not recommend running the heavy pretty much ever. You get a bunch of extra health, you get one extra magazine, and then you also though have a downside of 2.5% less running speed and aiming speed. I do not recommend using this because health, as we've mentioned before, it just is not that handy, and the downside are not worth the upside, so I would not recommend running the heavy ever. Now we're going to go over some class specific ones. First of all, I'm going to start with the Engineer. The Engineer has this is the only class with empty as an option. This means that you have less health, the same less mags debuff as the light has, so it's got the same amount of mags as the light, but it makes you aim 20% faster. Now, the use case for this is also pretty rare, but it's definitely similar to the light in the way where if you're running an SMG or really close range stuff, it's really good. Or alternatively, if you're running out of your mags and switching to your RPG pretty quick, this vest will be really good for you because your aim speed is 20% faster than the lights. So if you've been running the light vest as Engineer and you're running out of mags really quick, don't actually switch to normal to try and get more mags. I actually recommend switching to empty so your rocket launcher is even more useful because it aims faster. So I would use this as in a CQB map, like a really close quarters map like Salhan or any frontline map, or maybe Domination on Sandy Sunset or something. I would run the empty over the light if you're running out of ammo really quickly. So the empty is actually really cool. I definitely would like to use it a lot more than I have been, and I highly recommend giving it a go if you survive a lot whilst using the light rig. Alrighty, now we're up to the big fella, support. His Exo Armour is one of the best in the game. I know that I said health isn't a huge benefit, but when it's up to 62, that's an insane amount of time the enemy needs to spend trying to kill you. This is the kind of health where you're running into situations like enemies are behind you and shooting you, and you can turn around and kill them on the regs with Exo Armour. That is really, really good benefit. The problem is you run and aim 10% slower, which is pretty big. That is actually very, very big. I would definitely be pairing this with the big bag, which is the fastest bag you can get for support, and I would honestly stack it with the Exo Helmet as well, because if you're going for health, you want to make sure everything they shoot is protected and not just one, because if they see your helmet is really small, they'll just shoot you in the head and kill you really fast. Now, a big downside with this is your legs are unprotected. If someone shoots you in the legs, you actually die really, really quickly. I don't quite know how much this affects it, because I don't think a lot of players are actually clued into the fact that you can just shoot a support in the legs, but it means that if you're proning, it's impossible to shoot you in the legs because all they can see is your head and chest. So proning with your LMG and stuff can actually be quite handy if you're using Exo Armour. If I'm running support and I'm running the L86 or the MG36, I'm way more likely to run the normal rig. But if I'm running the normal rig, I'm also going to run the normal helmet, because that's just because the normal rig has way more movement speed than the Exo. The Exo has a huge downside for movement speed, so I'm just trying to minimize that by running normal. So yeah, that's all the armors in the game. I'm quickly going to mention some backpack things as well. As engineer, if you're running the heavy backpack, I would run the normal or heavy armor, purely because you're not going to have good movement speed anyway, so don't try to go for it. And I would run the heavy backpack if I'm going to hunt tanks. That's when I would run the heavy. But if I'm just using general use and want to kill infantry, I would run the light backpack. And yeah, that's really all the backpacks and armors covered. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you guys now can make a more informed decision about your loadout, because this stuff actually does matter a lot. I really, really, really cannot stress enough, switch off of normal armor. Normal armor does not give you enough benefits. So anyways guys, catch us later.